I didn't really think this one through. I don't have a topic again. So let's see. What do we got? What do we got to think about? What could we think about tonight? Uh, so I'm writing the entire history of humanity. I'm not doing it. I'm having a robot doing it. And I'm barely even looking at the results. I mean, I know the entire history of mankind, so I figure once I get the robot to have written it, I'll just go over it and I'll just make it more verbose. I'll just add more shit to it. As I'm reading what the chatbot's written, I'll also remember other things and I'll say, chatbot, check me on this other thing. Chatbot will tell me what actually happened. I'll write that down. Probably by the end of the week, assuming I get Claude Pro, I'll have the entire story of civilization written out. Now, what am I going to do with it? I don't know. In fact, I don't know what anybody's going to be doing in like 2 years. Okay? So Claude and other large language models are going to be able to produce text, books, scientific findings, math theorems in great numbers, in greater numbers than there are people who can read them. Let me let you in on a dirty secret of academia. No one knows what the fuck they're doing. Nobody who's writing a book has actually done their sufficient research. Nobody who's writing a journal has actually done their sufficient research. Everyone is pretty much just winging it. And here's the thing. A lot of people pretend to read books. Your average influential book has maybe 50, 60,000 people who have actually read it. Of those 5,000, 6,000 people actually understood it. And a few million people are pretending to read it. And that goes with anything substantial. That goes with anything that's longer than like 400 pages, anything that didn't hit the New York Times bestseller list. And a lot of people watch when the guy goes on TV for like 5 or 10 minutes. They're listening to him talk about it. Like, I know the content of Neil deGrasse Tyson books because they're very simplistic. They're very condensed journalistic accounts. And Neil goes on and talks and talks and talks. He's got thousands of hours. I could just listen to him talk, hear his book proposal, and I already read the book, mentally speaking. But outside of that, outside of superficial things, like the number of people who are actually doing close readings of the research is minuscule in comparison to the amount of research that is being produced. And most of the research that is being produced is garbage. Now, our large language models are being trained on this research and on the textual productions of all these science men. But what our large language models are going to do fairly rapidly is distinguish between the nonsense and the stuff that's actually true. And if we use in any way any kind of evolutionary modeling of these large language models, or if they do it instinctively or naturally as a consequence of how they operate, then fairly quickly we're going to have a much better, much more informationally dense, and much more accurate production of knowledge by the large language models. And the issue with that is, in addition to all of the great stuff, they're also going to produce trash. There will be large language models that produce very compelling, very persuasive garbage as a result, either intentionally or just as an emergent product of their data sets. Now, what do we do with all this? I don't know. I'm not a data scientist. I'm not an information security analyst. I don't know anything about any of this shit other than I think in addition to making auto completers, we're going to have auto annotators and auto readers. We're going to have bibliographic agents that do nothing but compile data sets out of the data sets that these large language models are producing. And I don't know if that's even a fruitful way of doing things, but I do know that my ability within a actual, like I can actually do it, my ability, whether I'll do it or not, my ability to actually do it, create a large, expansive historical series that's historically accurate or more historically accurate than one that's 60 years old. My ability to do that in a week means that people much smarter than me are going to be doing much more stuff than that. And once the large language models have got autonomous agents that are producing their own books and doing their own scholarship, I think that man will not have to read very much and will mostly be involved in the creation of readers. Now, not an internet scientist, so I can't tell you what that means, other than it frightens me.